guys, back to another video, another live stream of me playing some D2R, so I hope you're all doing good today. TGIF. Welcome, welcome.
Let's jump to this portion of the story from Wire. Metadata shows the FBI's raw Jeffrey Epstein prison video was likely modified. There was no evidence the footage was deceptively manipulated, but ambiguities around how the video was processed may further fuel conspiracy theories about Epstein's death. Now, what they basically say is they say there's evidence that they made fake footage, but at the bare minimum they say it was modified, likely using Adobe Premiere Pro. It appears to have been assembled from at least 2 different source clips, saved multiple times, exported, and uploaded to his website, where it was presented as raw footage. It was not. So that minute is missing. That probably was a mistake of a crappy editor. So imagine Dan Bongino seeing this video come out and going, "What did you do? I went on TV and said we had this, and you put that out." So I think this plays a huge role in why he's pissed. But then the question becomes, the video is not raw, it is edited. Who did it and why? And what's the real story? And is it possible that Dan Bongino's frustration is running crazy? It could be. He's a man of profound integrity, which I really is. I trust him. And so he's seeing all of these failures and being like, I can't be part of whatever he's trying to do. However, those who do not trust him, it could be you launched our cover and screwed up on fire.
I agree. I think also he had probably not seen footage before a lot of mouths. Like he went on television and said, the guy killed himself. So we have footage of Epstein killing himself, which is why he sounded uncharacteristically uncertain and uncomfortable when being pressed on by the press. He was engaging in his cover, saying, I'm going to put my reputation, I'm going to trust something that I've been told. When it comes out, he's like, now I look like a fool.
Could you imagine if he quits, comes back to his show and says, guys, never proved to me he killed himself. They told me he did, they didn't trust us, we get the footage out, just trust us. And that's why he went on TV and said,
Is he allowed to do that? I don't know. Like, is there an NDA or disclosure if he leaves? Is he legally prohibited from disclosing that type of thing?
probably.
You also have the weird thing like they're asking cash yes, he killed himself. So please don't kill me. Yeah, look at that weird tornado. Like making us like that. Yeah. Yeah, I like the person I hate this. Yeah, good. It's afterwards feels like okay, I figured out, not figured out, I think it's pretty important that all your governments and your unbelievably safe. Many theories out there. Saudi Arabia succeeded. It doesn't contribute, right? Why they get the keep quiet. So keep quiet so you can tell us the tell us. I think it's so seismic that they all keep quiet for strategic reasons. They won't tell us. Never else. I think, well, until the dead. Whatever for Epstein. So even then you get the jail. Yeah, you get the jail. But if this really doesn't debate multiple constitution heads, members of monarchies, the stakes are almost too high for them to actually.
I think it's what symbolize this is that there's probably a lot of people that are going to blackmail and what does that mean as far as, agendas and levers of power that are
I was not aware of that. Made aware of that.
I would just assume that. And if we go back to like Jacob Hoover, it's just, I'm pretty sure some kind of bills always
Go back to Thomas Jefferson.
yeah.
babe, how you doing?
Initially published accusations
Welcome back.
of slaves James Reynolds and his wife, like Hamilton. Ray Reynolds had an affair with Hamilton in 1991. James Reynolds discovered and extorted money from him from the people affair sequel.
Centralized bond, centralized currencies.
There is a much older and bigger conspiracy that the U.S. never broke away from. That when Ian's not here, but the conspiracy theory is that basically when the British are at war and they're fighting the colonies, they reassess the fighting, and Parliament became they're basically like, wait, hold on, they're trying to
Delicious.
well, they want to have a government.
'Twas
right?
delicious.
It's like,
Had myself a
why are we
couple
fighting?
vegetarian quesadillas
So then,
and some broccoli cheese casserole and a bunch of watermelon. What'd you have for din din?
Also like the loyalists. As long as you're cool with one of our founding fathers, you were good. Like Lord Fairfax was the only member of British peers that actually kept his titles after the war because he was nice and promotion. Like there's a way out of it. Cool George. I think it's a conspiracy may have run into the war in 1945. I think the deal was rescinded back then. We've had multiple examples of MPs in the government sending sexual blackmail by when they're the phone witness office, basically saying,
Plain rice again. You need to get yourself some more nutrients than that, babe.
Virtually every person of European descent is likely descended from Charlotte.
Yeah. He was a player. He was Virginia
Dupre, committed suicide just a few weeks ago. She was going to be released.
You have fruit galore during the day? That certainly helps.
And then she was run off the road by a bus or something.
And the bus driver denied it.
Yeah, and then she
Posts this.
committed suicide.
Well, she posts this thing where she's all battered saying, I just need a few days to see my kids. Like, who are you telling that to?
And then she died. I mean, there is something, I think, going on there. I don't know what.
Same as Robert Maxwell, right? To fall off of his boat. He used to have been working for Mossad. Like, I know your chances of light up working out, but like, this all stinks. This is all totally glorious radioactive. You've been sloppy with the assassinations since the Clintons, allegedly. Because, like, I mean, there was the one where the lady that accused Bill Clinton that she was working at Starbucks, and someone came in, it was like in Georgetown, just shot her point blank range, and came in, and everyone was like, no, it was like, stand up, hold on, no. It's like, you're getting sloppy. What's going on?
Wow, what was that story?
It was the accuser of Clinton in Georgetown.
Cannot be assessed eating. Right, it is this hot.
There was that journalist who was investigating the CIA who committed suicide by shooting himself.
Can't be,
Yeah, so, he just went
I
to
feel
the
you.
and stabbed himself in the back 25 times. Classic suicide, yeah.
The dude who shot himself, I always forget his name. They argue, well, he shot himself and it wasn't a lethal shot. So then he shot himself again to die. And most people hear that you shot yourself twice and they don't believe that, but disgusting, tragic reality is people often
Yeah,
miss.
yeah, but you gotta show me the diagram. She's in the back of his head.
I think one of them was natural.
You know, tape over.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah. He actually managed to put cement around his feet in a bucket and then hop all the way down the octopus. So what are we uncovering here? What are we getting at?
We're getting
I'm listening to Tim Pool, Timcast IRL.
You know they say that wealth lasts 3 generations? So does the liberal economic order. So does governmental power. So the idea goes, some young kid is born on the farm.
What the fuck are you listening to?
You know, I could do this better if I just had this tool.
They actually have Dr. Drew on right now.
Making a bunch of these crazy tools, built a company, all of a sudden he owns a widget factory and he's super rich. Has a kid. That kid is born in wealth. And he says, here's how you run the widget factory. And we have a bunch of widget factories. That kid grows up super rich, comes from the company. His kid, that kid grows up wealthy, and it's a copy of the company. The third generation doesn't know the hard work it took and the ingenuity to revolutionize the system, didn't have the experience in the field to figure out how to innovate it, and so the wealth falls off. Or it becomes institutionalized, and this is...
Why do you say that?
Know how to run anything. I think the same thing is true with the liberal economic order. After World War II, you got some gritty...
I think they got some interesting takes.
Craziest of literally nuking our country, and they're like, here's what we're going to do. We're like, we're going to control the world, we're going to finance and trade, here's how we're going to do it. And they have second generation...
I gotta be at least a little politically aware, you know? Don't need to be like a pundit or anything, but I gotta know what's going on.
Do a simple cover-up. Guys, tell me, bro, what are you doing?
This is corruption 101. What are we doing?
Yeah, what you do is, after you process the footage on Premiere, you just load the footage back into the surveillance footage to turn it into a raw file, and then publish it. Come on, that's cover-up 101. What's going on? Iron.
It's rookie stuff. What are we doing? Come on, let's get together.
Very well.
I would not get along with
Very well was found.
Yeah.
This is a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
I think a lot of people would say the same.
It is unusual.
Personally, I think I'd get along with him, but he isn't... So, the word pugnacious that I was using to, you know, play around with you earlier, you know, would definitely define him. He's very pugnacious. He likes to argue for the sake of arguing.
What happened to that? Well, he was driving down the street when someone took a match, which caused a dog to bark, scaring a guy in a fight.
But sometimes it's necessary, to be real. Get people to pay attention.
That just happens all the time. Yeah, I don't know, man. I know what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Because we're not getting it. And the story now is not even
Exactly right.
But it's the story's not empty. The story's not that much.
I was just looking at the age of all the why is he I mean, he was revealed that this kind of stuff. He's never really being something that we always think about too much about. Why does this why are there more people coming forward helping us understand how we're government?
No, he's actually a Pisces,
I think there's a strong probability.
so he should get along with you perfectly, but, you know, astrology doesn't really mean anything, so. Like you, I just follow it for fun.
So that's probably a state possibility. But it really is so hard to believe that they keep botching it this poorly. When it's a rather simple endeavor. So I'm like, when I think about everything's dropped and the stories, I'm just thinking, what is their intended goal behind this? Because it's not hard.
OMG.
They could have just been like, here's 3 sentences Dan for you to say on TV, and then that's it. We're going to talk about it.
Well, I don't know if it was a figure of speech or what, but Pam Bondi, when she went on Jesse Waters, and I think it was that one, where she said at first that they had given her just a very teeny tiny little file, and then she says, and this is her word, that there were truckloads of information at SDNY, Southern District, New York, truckloads of information. So I
Okay.
So I think everything needs to happen in its time.
What if they bring it back easy?
And you saw Richard with that on this too.
No reason.
Oh, he said,
I've
I've seen the file. It's real. There's a lot of stuff there. I can't tell you.
And he said, I know who's on it, but it's confidential. I can't say. They should release it.
But there was sort of a sense of urgency that there's a lot of stuff.
I think Dershowitz wants it released because he's accused, and there's evidence tying him to Epstein stuff, and he's like, release it, shoot it or not, come on. Yeah, or at the bare minimum, he's saying this going in, well, you release it, he wants to conceal it.
I think, what do you do? It tones the legal corruption all over the laws and stuff like this management plan. The more you hear about the mismanagement of this scandal, that's how the actual scandal itself to accept the fact that everyone who is ruling us being politically depraved is a feature of it. And so it just allows the system to come to the
Let's roll tape. We got the story from the New York Times. The FBI is using polygraphs to test officials' loyalty. Some senior officials who have taken the test have been asked whether they said anything negative about FBI Director Cash Patel. We're in some kind of school or whatever you want to call it. And there exists currently two distinct factions fighting for control of our government. I don't know how else to put it. Whatever's going with Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, the Epstein stuff, to the fact that it's not just the FBI, but I asked Secretary Connolly, who said with DHS, they're doing the same thing. They are trying to weed out individuals they feel are betraying this country or working against it. When you have numerous stories that our federal agencies are doing polygraphs for loyalty tests, okay, that shows there's distinct separations of loyalties. So these people, I mean, what Cash has said is being a perpetrator of one conspiracy against this country. So that the argument is there is a large amount of people in the government, top to bottom, who are disloyal to the democratic process that we had in Trump. And we have to beat them out. So there is some kind of more administration.
I wish our cameras actually did it justice. Don't you? When it's big and beautiful like that, it'd be nice if our cameras did it justice.
And they pulled him aside. They said, we run this government. This government's been here for 4 years. We are in charge. We determine what goes on here. That is disgusting to me. That they're not serving the will of the people. That is anathema to the basic principles here. Then I talked to another guy who was flying from D.C. a couple months ago. He'd been in the DOJ for he said, oh, it's happening that too. We would just hire our own people on one side of and HHS can't because they've been so complicated research organization. But this has been happening for a long time. Look, the Jacobins thought that they were sort of developing freedom, shaking
wasn't so tired these days. What from? Is it still from your time or something else?
You've still got thousands of state-built brands that you want to put out there. They cannot do anything else. They've never made anything else in their lives. They live and breathe this ideology. Is it going to go quietly into this good night? No, they're going to form some sort of like parallel system that's going to constantly try and a well-funded parallel system that's going to constantly try and undermine these elections that they put up. And so there's two things that concern us. First of all, I don't know how effective the polyglots would be because pretty much all of our opponents are total psychos, and so they're not really available in this sort of way. Second of all, did you see the photos that came out today of the state? They've sacked a lot of people. Those things say, if you're still left behind, remember, your mission is to fight fascism. So people know it's to create an ideological government that those differences between cultures. We're going to find it. I'll send it to Serge.
Point about the polygraphs, though, like the worst survivors are actually probably the ones that we last time. The polygraphs are not even in the civil report, are they?
I'm just thinking your asylum is granted with I like Resurrected. It's fantastic. I think asylum may well be necessary eventually. So, the only key to my country is
Heat, mental anguish, maybe medication withdrawal too. Oh, I'm incredibly busy. 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily these days. Yes, time.
over and over again, she feels the
Sheesh, everything piling on top of itself. Don't burn the candle at both ends, sweetheart. Pace yourself.
Racist fascism. Remember the oath you swore to uphold. We have a death cult in our government. And they are actively trying to subvert the will of the American vote. I mean, Joe Biden won, and Republicans grumbled and got mad and claimed, many of them claimed that it was stolen. Then, during Biden's administration, they sought to imprison Trump, his lawyers. The White House never responded in kind to that force used by the left. Not on the streets, not in government, not even the manpower. And that's terrifying prospect.
It's really terrifying. I'm deranged by
Look at that.
like the first thing I have to say that obviously this is not I understand that I secretly think it should be.
Beth. I understand, Sonia. I'm here for you.
Let's just do this. Let's take a vote.
Just make sure you're getting yourself plenty of sleep when you can.
There is a majority that we reasonably discern the earth is round. The average person who does assumes it to be true based on the majority of society. They tend to be rational. If you can talk to a regular person and say, fair point, I never checked, but
Yeah. Well, why don't you try to take a friend with you? Or maybe a couple. Preferably a male friend that can protect you. Alright? And that way you'll be able to continue going. Despite the doofuses out there.
But Connor, I know you're having problems in London, but have you ever just considered the upside that you've got curry in Colombo?
Yeah, well, it turns out that actually the biggest curry producer in the UK were the school towns. So I don't think the British are in a deep and yawning desire for authentic Indian street food meats right now. I think I got a recipe. We don't need to import a million Indians in 4 years, which have crazy.
Don't have any male friends?
I would rather have civilization.
What about family members?
But I'm saying going to a civilized restaurant and sit down.
Take your brothers with you.
Maybe that curry or some pizza would be fun.
You know, though, the reason you mentioned right now about the religion issue and the culture issue, because as you said as well, Drew, like with the founding fathers and when they told you they come, and one of the things that they were very clear about is that we would only survive as a republic with freedom if we actually had a religion, right? Like they actually, yeah.
What would this bring from the route buyer?
I wish I did. I've been reading about it. So I think it's become almost like a taboo to discuss what the Christian religion does. And for example, when it comes to the concept of justice,
You'd have to defend them? What? Didn't you tell me your younger brother was a tank of a man?
that when you look at justice, when you look at court systems according to a Judeo-Christian system,
You're saying you'd have to defend the druggies. Because if that be the case, then so be it. They shouldn't be druggies. They're both pacifists. Oh. Well, I mean, if they're being attacked, then they could, then they'd defend themselves, wouldn't they?
Let's jump to the story of the Telegram. Trump to be denied address to Parliament on slave visitors for not giving the honor enjoyed by Barack Obama or Trump. How would that understand? I think the U.S. should
There's no need to counsel.
Actually,
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm not joking.
You would be able to do nothing if we didn't.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, all army is...
They're ruining your ability to enjoy the lake. Because they want to do their drugs and put you in a dangerous situation. That's not acceptable.
The reason for doing this right
guaranteed go day.
So they're hemorrhaging votes to the left. As far as the right in Britain, as far as it exists, last Conservative government just delivered net in immigration. You guys know that. You contribute something to the state. So we have the same level of immigration you guys did under the Conservative government. They were told they were refugees, and they instead appointed Ken Baker to the party while General Kennedy was in previous government over immigration is Welsh and born from Nigerian parents using health tourism, which is actually got citizenship, lived in Nigeria and America, identifies as the first generation, basically popped up by the party in the entire career, never in speech, she went to a leave the council as student. She was available for then you went with the top of the polls, that's Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage, about 2 years ago, to the same time as the left with Nigel, yeah, I know. Most Americans don't know this. Nigel Farage has been also betraying his base. Entirely betrayed. He has said mass deportations are a possibility we're not going to do. We're going to have one. The Taliban said there are clips of this and we'll be able to get Winston Marshall a few weeks ago. On Winston Marshall's podcast, he said, if politically we alienate Islam, by 2050 we will lose. So,
My first job was as a J.C. Penney associate back in 2008. I only had the job for like a month because I ended up going starting second semester college pretty quickly. What about you? When was your first job? What was your first job? Didn't you see my resume? Are you gonna hire me for something? What's this? Catalog delivery girl. Okay. Good deal. Definitely a good first job. If you really want to see my resume, I mean, I can send it to you, sure. But that's kind of a silly thing to do. Oh, dang it. I meant to keep that one.
Just ran a bunch of hot farms, and the left is coming up. I love this. I raided marijuana farms and found child slavery. And the left said they're kidnapping children from produce farms. It's like, wow.
So how would we possibly drug ourselves to accept living with children from farms?
I don't know. I think we should occupy California. I think Trump federal government should go and just put a rigid federal authority over. I mean, listen, this is not unconstitutional. Trump only revoked the insurrection act. They go to California and say the laws are going to be revoked. There are children slaves on these farms. Just with that information alone, Trump can say, he can go like, he can say, Gavin Newsom, I am telling you right now, if you will not give me, you don't have to report to me, but I'm saying, the federal government is not getting an assessment of the law enforcement against child slave labor on the farms in your state. The feds, we will invoke the Insurrection Act, and we will bring militarized control over your state levels. Even the whole
You'll be very interested in this. The last 3 or so months at least, the main topic that's dominated in nuclear discourse here is drink chat, civil war. Now, we don't talk about this in our country. It's not a thing that we've really spoken about since the 17th century. The Brits are quite shy and polite and reserved. And now we've got the government advisor Dominic Cummings, who would be a fantastic guest on Culture, by the way, coming forward and saying, you know, I've been right briefings in 2020. We cannot underestimate the level of delusion that these politicians have, and their urge to project to the public like they want to still pretend they're in control. All they seem to be doing is planting, noticing the problem, while stopping the immigration policies that led to this problem. And there's an academic called David Betts who works at King's College London, and he's studied all of this.
I'm secretly being interviewed for a job. Who would have thought?
Well, in the next 3 to 5 years, by all available metrics, you've got divisive identity politics, you've got the state cracking down on the native population, saying that they're downgrading the status, so they can have on social media. They're still reporting jihadists, and it's likely they're going to get vigilante attacks all over this country. So, within the next 5 years, you're probably going to have a civil war kick off and get almost $20,000 a year, and people are going,
Alright.
why are you saying this now? Why aren't you telling the government? I'm telling the government it's getting worse. The reason I don't think this is possibly. Okay, so there might be 2 groups. There might be one group who wants it, one group who doesn't. I genuinely think that we are run by, yes, demented ideological socialists, but also total crippling Midwest. There's an interview with Keir Starmer where he says, I don't think we've got that dream. I don't think the man's what? He says he doesn't dream. It's in the Guardian. Genuine. There's look up Keir Starmer doesn't dream. He's also denounced the speech that he gave.
Okay, sure. Let's see what I got. Give me a second.
He said, oh, I don't agree with what I was like, what burden?
I haven't used or opened these up in quite some time. They haven't been updated. So let's see.
Should we have like you got if you want to be president?
Where did I
you do
put
that thing
those?
Where they ask you to look on the chart of what an apple looks like in your mind. And they've got if you select anything below like at least 5 or 4, it's just like I'm sorry.
I mean, it's like the Civil War talk. It's not surprising because it's like if you have an entire, Carl Benjamin said it right. The Englishman is actually making possible for the American. It's like if you have a huge contingent of population very angry, they don't have a population that represents them. Or sorry, party represents them. Who do you think is going to
No, this one. Just you bring them in and say congratulations, you won flowers or won for office. Tell me, when you visualize an apple, which number do you see? And Keir Starmer will smile. It's like, okay, well, you are ineligible. Now, we can be nice and say 1 through 4 is okay.
I don't remember where I put it.
I suppose people get upset because they're like, what's it called? It's aphantasia, is that what it is? When you can't visualize something in your mind. Well, I don't know, man.
He literally wrote the textbook on how to apply human rights law.
I'm telling you, it's been so long since I've given it to anybody. I don't even remember where it is. I kind of gave up on the pursuit.
Because we talk about mass formation psychosis. I'm somewhat being facetious, but sometimes I look at the zombification of people, like we were talking maybe about
I'll find it. It's just gonna take me a sec.
Like, are these zombies? Like, are these people conscious, reasoning individuals?
There was a book written by Latsky's Exorcist where he says that people are demonic possession when they're in a state of faithlessness and vice. And so you're in a civilization that is godless, addicted to drugs, constantly sloppy on television, has nothing to do with the ideology of politics. Well, you might be experiencing the average NPC continues to refer to this as
Wait, you said television without this on.
well, yeah, this is quite black mirror, but yeah. The only, so I am very tech skeptical. The only beneficial thing about this though is that this is what's turning a hell of a lot of young men right now, especially video games, because you cannot deny that they themselves are the worst thing you are seeing. This is where I'm obsessed with what Douglas Murray's called secular concerns. We're obsessed with controlling speech online about the thing rather than addressing the actual thing itself. So there's a new independent commission on community television. It's meant to be like that. The independent group is a state company, right? Okay. They've got their, and they're meant to be investigating the causes of Silicon Valley riots and offset evacuation. And what's their conclusion? Well, as much as one of further online speakers.
Second, what do you call it? Second order effects. Look, that makes sense from the analogy that I use. I said that we are chickens in a chicken coop, and it's meant to be somewhat silly, but the general idea is, I got a chicken coop. I don't care what they do every day, as long as they make eggs. If at any point there is some kind of tumult, I'm going to say, stop the tumult. I want the eggs. I don't care why they're fighting. I want them to stop fighting. So in this regard, they're saying, I don't care.
There you go.
what the problems are. I want
I
them
found
to
one of them. It's not the most.
So,
It's not the one that I used to get my last job, but it's one of them.
many slaves, I would free many more if only they knew they were slaves. It's an interesting quote, but when you expand what it means psychologically, it's that if people can't conceptualize of something, it doesn't exist. Perception is reality. So if they're saying, look, we've got a bunch of young men that
Took
are
me a
seeing
second
this
there.
problem, is there a way by which we can reduce their ability to communicate with each other so they can't get on the restaurant? Then the problem is solved. Care why they're mad. Just, you know what we do? The chickens are really great psychology. The chickens fight. And it causes them stress, and they're stressed, and they're late. So you know what we do? We put blinders on their faces. And then they walk around, and they can't see anything, and they're going like this half the time. electric air, thousands of years ago. So I have witnessed things recently that I would describe as paranormal. When I say paranormal, I mean we don't just have a means of explaining it, but certainly humans have experienced enough of this stuff that's been written about that while some of it certainly is made up of stupid. Yes, there are legitimate claims and cases of honest, rational human beings who experience something that isn't reasonably explained by reliable science. Now you can also take a look at the stories of pilots who say one recent story where an was on a plane and a orb floated to the left of his plane and seemed to lock to the plane so that we backed left and moved perfectly with the plane. There's tons of stories of rational pilots saying, not only did I see it, radar picked it up and that guy saw it too. So when I say things like demons, possession, mind control, I think there is a strong possibility that these things actually exist. And I try to rationally explain how it is. The first time I experienced the mass formation psychosis, I had worked at bus, made a bunch of friends, went around traveling the world covering the news. We would then come back and produce a video and publish it. A couple of years after that, probably about 2 years during this, I said, I am going to go to Sweden. And I got messages from people from us saying, don't do it. People I've done reports and people from it. And I was like, why not? I'm doing literally what I've always done. And they said, because Trump is wrong, so don't go. And I said, I agree Trump is wrong, and I'm going to go prove it wrong. And they said, no, it's not wrong. Because you're going to prove it wrong. And I was like, dude, you and I used to go and cover these things and do the exact same thing. And they're like, yeah, Trump is bad, there's white supremacists over here. I got like 4 or 5 messages from nice recruits saying, do not go. Give the money to a Muslim, a refugee group. This up. A couple people.
Overbreathing.
Then they started calling me white supremacists. And I'm like, how did in 2 years, people that had an entire worldview, nearly heavily put on, turn into whatever this zombie is? And within 2 years...
Why'd you retract the last message?
It's not.
Perceived as these judging how they should be done. It's made now the other side is doing it. I'm not judging right or wrong. It's just that in terms of telling people it's
and they're on screen play.
Talking reality.
This is already happening. There are women who go on Facebook for the Spur Marketplace. Actually happening. And they say, you know, I'm looking for a guy for the internet. Thank you, man. And just want to in. Don't want to know your name. Don't want to even see your face. Just come in, do the deed, and leave. And yep. I don't know that. Sure, but he has a quick cameo as Maxwell.
I can't.
I disagree. No, Maxwell is not like that. I know, but I like the picture.
He's slick and suave.
That's what they think. But I agree, it's not like he gave the quote.
Yeah, exactly.
But the scene he's in is the only time they actually say anything political. But it's neutral political, and it is fun. I think everybody.
What?
It's not targeting any.
I don't even make the flash though. I think that's what this guy's doing.
I didn't hate The Flash. It's just so horribly miscast. And the movie was, I give it a D plus C minus. I won't watch it again, but I was not walking. Like Star Wars: The Last Jedi, that was on the walk in the theater. But the only reason I did was because I was like, I need to see the movie at the time. But there was another movie that I would walk out. I almost walked out soon. When the interdimensional monkeys were sending tweets, not kidding, no joke. And I was spoiled that year. I was like, what? Almost right after Mr. Truth comes in, and I'm like, I gotta watch Mr. Truth. And then it completely redeems it. And I was like, okay, you brought me back. All right. I'm people who earn their power. I don't. I think his character is good, but that's why Iron Man, Batman, Doctor Strange, he studies and learns how to use magic. Mr. Terrific invents things just like Batman and Iron Man does. I love characters that they show that humans can have this tremendous power through hard work. And that's why Lex Luthor's a great character as well. He's evil now. Anyway, let's grab some more super chats. We've got a few minutes. Taylor Lorenz X says, Dr. Drew, you live. Oh, I'm not reading that.
You live is an old reading from Love Ladder show.
And then there's a statement that's inappropriate, which I won't read. Love OG Love Line. I took one J&J COVID jab. How's screwed out on it?
That one doesn't seem that belongs to the problem. I took that one too.
But the statement after you live was, you might know what it is. It's probably a joke from the men, but it's worthless. I'm not going to read it.
It's the Mike Cassidy. It's accurate.
Walter says, there are victims, even under oath, accusing people who are making laws that govern you to vote on them and enforce the laws that are governing you. That is why it's important. Alright, what we got here? Tech Paul says, according to Bondi, the number of victims
And my agent dropped me because of this book, and then the publisher didn't want to do this book. They asked me if I would do some other book, any book, but I said that I really want to do this book. So please have support. I'm the owner of researchtoday.com. It's my most publishing expert.
A couple TV shows, Hollywood Demons, check that out. That's streaming on Max. And also it's up to my thing. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 o'clock Pacific time, we do a show on Rumble, Ask Dr. Drew. It's also on YouTube.
You can follow me on X at Real Estate Brown and Instagram at Real Estate Brown. I have 1,000 followers on X. I want shares and stories.
I'll put that to the news.
Maybe we should just do a show where we can be really drunk. And then you tell the story and we just blast out.
Just in flick language.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everybody, we're back, of course, on Monday. Cooks up the weekend. Thanks for hanging out.
Alright, I'm gonna finish this act and then we'll switch it to the marathon. Ugh.